now transition into a discussion that lies at the very core of India's strategic defense vision, one that holds the key to both preparedness and prosperity, which is self-reliance and exports in defense manufacturing. When we talk of Year of Defense Reforms, Atmanirbharta is no longer just a vision, it is a strategic necessity. It reflects not only on our aspiration to build within, but also our confidence to contribute beyond, to become a net provider, not just regionally, but globally. And this transition demands more than just intent. It requires a synergized national effort involving policymakers, armed forces, private industry, DRDO labs, MSMEs, and the entire academia. The upcoming session will bring together the change makers who are reimagining defense manufacturing, not just as an industrial goal, but as a pillar of national power. It gives me great pleasure to now welcome the distinguished minds leading this conversation. Lt Gen Vinod Khandare, Param Vishishta Seva Medal, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Sena Medal, retired, Principal Advisor, Ministry of Defense. Smt Deepti Mohil Chawla, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Defense. Lt Gen RS Reen, retired, former Director General, DGQA. Dr. B.K. Das, Director General, Electronics and Communication Systems, DRDO. Mr. Ashish Kansal, CEO, SMPP, and Mr. Suyash Singh, CEO, GalaxEye. I now hand over the session to Lt Gen Vinod Khandare to lead and moderate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And after a sumptuous lunch, you can look for some interesting discussion here. And I'm not going more into detail about introduction of the speakers, but we are talking of self-reliance and manufacturing and defense exports. So I'm jumping straight into the discussion because we are way behind in schedule. So maybe the opening remarks about 5 to 8 minutes each speaker. And Deepti, I'll come to you straight away to talk about how the ministry looks at this topic.
Good afternoon, sir. And this is a unique privilege and honor to be part of this panel. And having the Vice Chief hearing me is a greater honor. So thank you all for a post-lunch, as Sir brought out, to be sitting here to listen to us. So let me start my takeaway on this matter from something that our Honorable Prime Minister, when he first took over as the Prime Minister of the country in 2014, from the ramparts of the Red Fort, he says, he gave a clarion call saying that I welcome the world to come to India, make in India, manufacture in India, and meet the needs of any part of the world by making in India. Export wherever you want, however you want, but make it in India. That clarion call really set the tone for the governance and the and our policy makers, that we need to make a shift from being mere consumers to producers. And that led to the first set of reforms that evolved in our country, where Make in India was the preferred mode of procurement. But that was not enough, because even though we were making in India, we were making it based on TOTs that we were getting from foreign OEMs. We were just doing assembly line production. We were not the designer and developers of the product, and we were always constrained with the IPRs behind the manufacturer, who determined where we sell, how we sell, and it was greatly inhibiting exports. So came the second revolution, and I must say that again, I give credit to our Honorable Prime Minister, when in 2019, now this is the start of his second tenure, he says, no, it's not just enough to make in India, we need to be self-reliant. And then came the buzzword of Atmanirbharta. In the non-defense sector, it just took off very easily because I guess technologies are more easily available. There are not many constraints. But in defense, it became a challenge. It's always a challenge in defense because you have to balance the requirement of your armed forces, their operational requirements, versus the need for holding that technology with yourself. That means you have to give it a gestation period for design and development. Armed forces at many times cannot afford that. So what happened? The major policy decision came from the government of India that you can only buy, the armed forces can only source their modernization needs as an exception from foreign countries. You have to design, develop, and make in India. That became the highest priority. And very exceptionally, if you have to go overseas to source something, then it would be a decision that would be taken by nothing less than the Raksha Mantri chaired Defense Acquisition Council. That made it very difficult for the defense forces because the supply chains were all coming, even if not the platform, the spares for those platforms were getting sourced from foreign OEMs. There were trials and tribulations, but today, and I can very confidently say that the Indian Armed Forces have taken on Atmanirbharta as their mainstay. And we have seen the defense production of our country, private and public, both put together, has grown 127% from a mere 40,000 crores of defense production in our country. We are now looking at 1.3 lakh crore defense production, both public and private combined. And now in our forthcoming vision, the immediate interim vision of 2030, we want to take it up to 5 lakh crores. And I'm sure this is going to happen. So something that many people in the defense setup think was something thrust onto them has landed up yielding such lovely dividends for us, both economically and from the point of view of having the self-sufficiency, given the geopolitical scenarios that we are going through, where there is so much of unpredictability. Self-reliance is not just something that we need to adopt because that is the trend. I think it is the necessity. There is no other alternative other than Atmanirbharta. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Das, now we talk of the latest technology and technology discovery and the way you have to develop things. And we've been talking of the latest possible technologies. We're not talking of products. But actually, you also have a lot of designs that you got design partners, production partners. How is it that you are able to get the latest technology and the products which will help in indigenization, that is self-reliance, as well as the exports increasing?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to share my view to elite audience, especially VCNS. We have spent time together and senior officials from all other forces. A warm afternoon and not easy to listen to me after such a sumptuous lunch, but bear with me for a few points. Very, very important point which you brought it out. I think the cultural shift has happened in DRDO and it has to happen. Friends, if we really want to be world #1 in weapon systems and technologies, we can't be technology chasers. We should stop making systems against QR. The more important is we should start dreaming the systems which nobody could think of. And to do that, we all have to first think that we are the soldiers on the battlefield. It's more important for us to understand and know the current trend of geopolitical situations, the kind of wars which are happening today, which is the extended political war, extended economic war, wherein you should have systems which should have a different capability. Just to give you one simple example, 48 hours before, you all might have read in the newspaper to what we did. First time in the country, we proved the laser weapons system, destroying 7 varieties of drones with the highest power of 30 kilowatt for the first time in history, and being in the one of the leagues of 4 nations in the world. That shows what? It's a different firing, it's a different era, it's a different interjections of the weapons to the systems where the reusable interactive weapon comes in. Attack comes, you lose with more expensive counterattacks, practically you lose more even though you intercept successfully. So that's the reason this is the technology for the future when I talk about laser. Having said so, just because I've had 48 hours before, I'm not advertising laser as a system. It is just the beginning. 30 kilowatt, I think 2 kilowatt is all it is done. I think 48 hours before I saw a news that our D4 systems could drown some Pakistani, some Chinese drones. Now 30 has come in. Soon it will be 50, 100, 300, and the numbers will go up. Probably India will be one of the world leaders. This is just one vertical I'm talking about. When I talk about this, a plethora of technologies which combine them. High precision electro-optics, fine beam pointing, high stabilization accuracy, more server technologies, image processing, state-of-the-art technology systems, all these mastered together could realize this in probably in 24 months. In the similar way, high-powered microwave, HPM, is going to be another big weapon which is coming very soon. God willing, you will all see the results. When the swarm of drones comes for an attack, you should be able to drown all of them together with a single pulse. That's called the high-powered microwave pulse systems. We talk about masers. We talk about so futuristic technologies today. By giving you these examples, what I'm trying to thrill at, that if we really want to be world leaders, we have to imagine what the weapon our armed systems need 10 years ahead. And today we have to think, breaking down them, what are the core technologies required? Throw open the challenges across public sectors, private sectors, startups. You talk about MSMEs, you talk about academic institutions, DISU is the 50 numbers which DRDO has opened up. Let's all break down to small ingredients. Throw them, have multiple developments concurrently. Doesn't matter, 5 may fail, but the 6th one passing, India will be the world leader. And bring all those success models together, merge them another 3-4 years, realize proto systems, do the trialing, and maybe in 10 years from now, you realize the systems what you are planning 10 years ahead of schedule. If you have to do that, industries have to come forward with this mindset. They can't think that today we are working on a system and tomorrow we need a production radar. For that, DRDO is running day and day. They're working. There's lots of radars, lots of missiles, lots of tanks, ammunitions, all that we are working. That's to fill the hand of the current industries together. But I would like to make my point very clear to all the industries across. From the business point of view, if they want to be millionaires, India, if they want to be one in the million countries in the world to be the world leaders, we have to be very clear about those game-changing technologies which are going to redefine the warfield systems. Not today, friends, not even 5 years now, 10 years ahead. If we can think, if we can work, if we can focus, and if we can bring a set of industries to work for those technologies, it will not be visible today. A decade after, India will be world leader. DRDO is very clear on this. We have unfolded our technology compendium to break down all these technologies. Most of them have been thrown open. Much more every day it is happening. I am sure years to come, everybody will have its opportunity to deliver the best of the systems which nobody had and no competition. We will be the world leaders. And to conclude, it is not only Atmanirbharta which make the country world leaders. Friends, if we have to knock down Germany, Japan, in that, it has to be export. And export can happen if we trust our systems first ourselves. So export has its own time. Now if I take so much of the time, we have to realize the system within, utilize it, world sees that how efficacious the systems are, then the export happens. And then the version happens. I think the road is straight. DRDO is committed with the new reforms and the new approach. Soon you are going to undiscover those things which India could never think of. I am confident.
Dr. Das, two interesting points. 5 may fail, the 6th one will succeed. It's music, especially to startups. And the second one, exports, I totally agree with you. And that's where I'll go to Ashish Kansal. SMPP, you are one of the leading exporters. Now, I have 2 specific questions for you. 2016, we did a study, MOD-led study on the defense diplomacy part, where we changed the charter of duties of the defense attaches. Earlier, we were told that, defense attaches are more ceremonial in nature. That was not true even then. But now the charter has changed. They have been given money from the MOD to hold events. Does it help? That is point number 1. And secondly, since you represent the private sector, what is it that you've got to tell us so that we become more self-reliant and exports increase so that ease of doing business for you?
So, thank you, Gen Khandare, for giving the opportunity to be here. Yeah. So, first of all, on your specific questions on defense exports, I think that's where India today has got its act together. We have started right. but there's a long way we need to go. And this is one place where the public and the private partnership has to come along together. There's a lot of difference between making an equipment and making a successful sale in exports. A lot of it goes into making sure a country which is looking at buying an equipment has all the options open for itself to buy systems. Not just technology plays a role, diplomacy plays a role, and a lot of factors play a role. So this is somewhere where I personally feel that private sector and public sector must join hands together if you really want to be a global player. You look at any country, you see the complete defense industry comes as one industry on one platform, whereas in India, even till date, we are not able to see ourselves at one platform. You go to any international exhibition, you see private companies at separate places, public sector companies at one place. There's still not a cohesion which has come between this, and somewhere I think somebody will have to pick up the lead from government side and put the act together. Without this, we will remain separated. We will keep making systems which we think are exportable. Each one will keep making their own small efforts, but then we cannot compete with giants like China, US. They have their acts together. They come as a force where then we are able to win some orders, but we lose most of it. Secondly, on your point on the defense attaches, an excellent idea put in place, but not in execution. We still see very little of that being executed. Practically, we still see that the defense attaches have this dilemma of whether they could do something for a private industry or they could still do it only for the public sector company. So they're still, I think, more at ease with their mind doing it for the public sector. But when it comes to private sector, I think their help is more verbal than anything in writing or anything structured. So this still needs to change. This still needs to be more driven down from India, because MEA doesn't understand this. MEA says that's not my charter, and they come under the ambassador. So the ambassador is not willing to push them except a few. We've seen some ambassadors have been really, really well. If this is what everyone starts doing, then yes, we have a case here.
So you think a target should be given to the ambassador and the DA?
Absolutely. We need to rope in the ambassadors. Without the ambassadors, DA alone would not be able to function.
Any other recommendation you have to make this happen?
A quarterly report feedback, what was done. The report will showcase whether what actually has been done.
Every time you visit, is there any feedback mechanism with the government?
No, there's no feedback mechanism.
Would that help?
Certainly.
Okay. Coming to Suyash. Suyash is synonymous with space, and he's a young startup, GalaxEye, and I deliberately thought space should be brought here. You're still struggling. So what do you have to tell us?
First of all, sir, thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks to Kalam and Kavach team. And it's a pleasure to share the stage with all of you, and in front of the august audience. So I think very briefly to touch upon, GalaxEye is a space tech startup building world's first ISR satellite of a kind, which combines multispectral and SAR on the same satellite. I think, sir, I'll just start from that particular point, what B.K. Das sir just mentioned, that this is something that is not where we are chasing a technology. This is where we are disrupting the way how people have built their own ISR satellites and technologies and stuff. Doing that is not easy. Of course, first of all, you need to do a lot of R&D upfront, and you need to put a lot of capital building that satellite. For example, we raised $15 million upfront, and the entire capital is R&D. I think in the last session we were talking about the R&D spend of 22% or so. In our case, it's probably 85% and above and whatnot. So I think coming to the struggles parts, in the last 4 years, one thing that really helped us was talking to a lot of defense personals, talking to you, talking to lookalikes and everyone. So industry is opened up. So I think users are opened up. That is for sure. And we really loved that. Even DRDO for that matter. So those are open, and we can anyways walk in and talk to them. What needs to be done next is probably, we need to have mechanisms, more mechanisms like IDEX, where we are doing rapid prototyping. So when it comes to R&D, design and development, is there a way to do rapid prototyping? Sir, NC is not the way forward, to be honest. It has to be some paid things, because at the end of the day, the startups will have to go back to their investors and raise more capital. NCNCs should not be NCNCs. It should be like minimal amounts that can be given to the startups. So also, when we started GalaxEye, we never thought of A use case or B use case. We were always agnostic of the use cases. We thought global first. We thought, US is our customer. In fact, US Space Force came along, like they sat in our office for three straight hours. We never went there. They came because we are doing something very, very nation specific. So I think, sir, the export element, has been thought through since the beginning, but we are developing our own sales teams. So for example, as a startup, I had to start a sales team in the US or somewhere else. It will take a lot of, expenditure on our balance sheets. So instead of that, like sir just mentioned, is there a way where we have a combination of MEA and DAs helping us, specifically startups, to take them along with them, but just don't take us along. There has to be some specific agenda. Like my team currently, as we speak, is in Tanzania, right? And they don't have absolutely no clue, post one meeting, what needs to be done next. So there's no next step or feedback mechanism, in my opinion, when it comes to doing this. Yes.
Do you have engagement with the foreign defense attaches in Delhi?
So very little as of now.
Would that be a good idea?
100%, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is something which is doable here, right?
Right. 100%.
The other point which I wanted to ask you when you spoke about IDEX, specifically for space and issues like cyber, we modified and came up with Aditi. What's your opinion on that?
So actually, it's slow. It's slow because, the amount has become bigger. And because of the amount has become bigger, the number of challenges that comes in Aditi are way smaller. Plus it is treated more like an L1, L2, again in a smaller format, maybe not a larger format, right? For example, one of the Aditi challenges where we were into, we were called L2 and then we were said, we have given to someone else, and that company doesn't even make SAR, right? So there's no feedback mechanism in Aditi as of now. I know there can be teething issues in the beginning, but I think that it's too big of a leap, from 1.5 crores where you can do more often, you can take more challenges and even the users are comfortable in giving that. 25 crores just seems like it will happen after a very, very long time. Although it's a good amount, but it has its own challenges to execute, sir.
Actually, the 25 crores was with an idea by then you'll grow to a level from a component to a subsystem. And that's where you would require. That was our logic, but anyway. Gen Reen, the first round, you can please give your opinion because you had a long career in the DGQA.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
DGQA.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to the organizer for giving me this space. Gentlemen, I have been with the industry for almost 25 years in production and seen the industry growing also. But there are certain basic questions which remained unanswered. First is the industry still looking for all the help from the institution or from the government to develop the products? As I said sitting over there, the QRs have now to be defined by the industry. Come out with a technology and let that technology dictate the future for tomorrow. And the live examples are, we may be building our strategies, we may be building army for tomorrow or the battles which will come in the future. But gentlemen, you have the live case scenarios which is happening all across the LOC and IB in the G&K every third day. What better can you expect from your adversaries that he sends a group of 2 to 3 people, please do all sort of research available to you, please use all type of technologies which are available to you, and then make sure that within the available funds or resources and the powers given at different echelons, use this technology to defeat the design of the people who send these forces across to us. This is one open field which is available. If the co-panelist was talking about the satellites, then why don't we have the low-flying orbit satellites in that area to track that area over a period of say 50 square kilometers or 10 square kilometers? We have a wall, we have a wire, why can't we make it smart? Today, he has a question to us and we are just answering it. Gentlemen, we are a nation of 150 people. Put these questions back to them that now tell me how can you come on this side of the fence. Unless and all, we act together, think together and apply it. And this can only happen if the industry, the academia, the institutions which are doing R&D, sit on ground and see and appreciate the ground why it is happening. There could be other reasons which could be operational, which I am not going into the details. But my specific request to the industry is, please identify the problem statements which are available in the country, which are available in the state of J&K. Are we all feeling happy with the body bags which are coming every third day? In the recent Kathua operation, you had 6 of the J&K state police people having been killed. My second question is, why are we rushing into operations? They're just 2 of them coming. They could sit there for about 2 days or 4 days. They're not going to acquire my land. They're not going to raise a flag. Please find in the technology to resolve this problem rather than getting killed and making a glorification out of it. It doesn't work. Then you go in for higher technologies. Then you go in for, if those technologies are there with you, the whole world of export is open to you. Now coming to the facilitation, when I was heading the QA setup, every reform which was asked to us by the industry, we have done it. Today, the complete testing setup in this country has been automated. The complete QA system has been optimized. Now it is for the industry to optimize their manufacturing process and bring it at par with industry standard 4.0. So that period of gestation from the time that supply order is placed upon them and to the delivery has also to be made faster. We have a supply order monitoring portal which is visible at all the echelons. So that blame game should stop, that somebody is delaying the process of manufacturing. And my last and the most important point is, there are certain technologies today which we have all been talking since morning. Now these technologies should move out of the gamut of capital procurement. Because if you bring these technologies in the ambit of capital procurement, then the cycle of procurement is to go beyond 2 to 3 years. And by the time that company gets a supply order and he's in a position to supply it, it will add another 18 months. In that period of 4 to 5 years, the technology will be obsolete. So today, for those current technologies which are the requirement of the day, a mechanism which is available under the powers at various levels needs to be utilized if you want to sink in those technologies. And each one of you, with a humble request, whatever technologies you have, please frame in those technologies. We will request Madam sitting here that this could be framed into the futuristic changes which we are making in the DAP, so that a fusion is made between technology, the supplier and the user. And the technology comes in at the right time and the technology is at a level playing field. Because today, you are unable to upgrade in technology. You just have to make that technology obsolete and get something new, because the pace in electronics and other fields is moving at a very rapid pace. Because every day we hear about AI. And AI is nothing but it's a data which gets manifested in different forms. So enough of data is available to us. Last 30 years militancy data is not available with us. Put it into practice. And these are small projects, not big projects, which can be done at all levels. And that is where your IDEX comes in. And once these things happen, This is where you can go and export this technology to the world by bringing their problems and finding a homegrown solution and giving it to them. This is my take, which is on the futuristic technologies, availability, ease of doing business, and facilitating the industry and being on the right track and giving the products when we actually need it.
Before I come to Ms. Deepti for the second round, I just want to put on record a few things. Firstly, 7 Jat, Nangi Tekri Battalion, did a fantastic job very recently in the last about 15 days, where they have used indigenous technology, Indian cameras, Indian trail cameras, Indian body cameras, Indian tethered drone, and all that. And many of us have been in 25 Div. We know what is Nangi Tekri, and we know the kind of interest Pakistan has there. So to be fair to the troops on ground, this is what one CO has done with his resources and obviously some support from the formation. I just want to emphasize that a commanding officer is a very big guy, provided he feels he's a big guy. But if he's going to only look over his shoulder for direction, then obviously he'll be looking right up to Delhi, or we will be looking right up to Delhi. So that is the first point I wanted to make. The second point, which 6 policemen killed, it is nothing to do with technology, but with some issue where they went into an independent operation, which is a matter of unified command. That I understand the agony with which you are saying. So along with what we are doing, I am sure even the JKP needs to do that. Over to you, ma'am.
General Reen, respect your sentiments, but I would like to just do an intervention on 3 accounts. The operational resources are never short. However, the Indian Armed Forces requires those resources, they are made available by Government of India. I have been in the defense for nearly 30 years now, and never have we ever seen anybody deter, irrespective of the procedure. So operation role and responsibility of the armed forces are well respected and are totally, truly supported by the Government of India at all levels. Never is any policy or procedure a constraint. Let us leave it to the men on the ground, the commanders on the ground, to take the best decision given the resources they have at their disposal. And I am very proud of the Indian Army. They're doing a hell of a great job. The second thing, the part about having everything decentralized for the Army commanders, the naval commanders, or the Air Force commanders to procure is not always the recommended path. They have an operational role and responsibility which is paramount. We cannot use their offices and their staff and their operational commanders and the unit, down to the unit level, to be involved in the process of procurement. That is a time-consuming job, and let us all be not hypocritical about it. There are vested interests and malpractices that do creep into any procurement process, be it a pen or be it a missile. So let us just leave our delegations the way they are and enable our operational commanders whenever, wherever, however they want to be enabled. The third point that is frequently coming up, and I find that the theorists and the armchair strategists and the webinar, seminar people always try to bring out, is that the policy limitations and the procedural constraints is responsible for delays in procurement. Let me give you a perspective. This is the money that we have, which is being used inter alia for modernization, is an honest taxpayer's money. We have to have robust systems and procedures in place to ensure that that money is utilized in the best possible way. And we do not have any malpractices and vested interests overtly or covertly coming into the system. Therefore, we have things like the Defense Procurement Manual, which is a procedure for revenue, procurement, spares and sustenance procedure. And then you have the Defense Acquisition Procedure, which is for the capital goods and modernization. Without this framework, the people who are in the business of doing the procurement will be bereft of any kind of support structure for them. Tomorrow or a decade down the line, there will be some people questioning decisions on the ground. So we cannot leave the practitioners, and I have been in the acquisition, direct acquisition handling for 5 years, and I know that I drew my strength from the procedure. However, we may think that it leads to delay. I'm telling you, it is the framework on which the practitioners are able to move and move with the best intentions, and they do move with alacrity. I have not seen anybody in the chain delaying any process or any decision, but we need that framework. In the absence of the framework, we are left to guess who intended what and why a particular thing was done. The procedure and the structures ensure the honest taxpayers' money, to the best extent possible, is optimally utilized to get the best value for the money. These are the 3 interventions that I thought I should make, because the gathering needs to stop talking about the delays. It is a process, a very deliberate process, where all like-minded people, everybody from the service headquarters right up to the minister, is wanting the modernization to happen, but we need to do it in a system. That system which will sustain that modernization and not call to question as to why these bodies should be given any power if they're going to misuse crores of rupees in a very subjective method. Thank you.
Ashish, I have another question for you. You know, in 2022, in the MOD, we realized that the private sector also has to do networking, and in the NDC we created a vacancy for the private sector, and L&T was the first one to use it in 23. 24 I think HAL went in, but our thought process was that to have defense exports networking, because the officers who come for NDC from foreign countries, they're the ones who rise. So what is your thought process on that?
Certainly, sir, it's an excellent idea. The sooner we as a country wake up to the fact that exports will not happen just with your products, just with your technology.
So we have you attending the next one?
Why not, sir?
No, see, if it is a welcome idea, then somebody has to grab it, no?
No, I'm more than up for it, sir.
See, whenever there is an initiative taken, then there has to be a kind of enthusiasm from the private sector also. So that's why I threw this idea to you.
No, I'm absolutely, on a serious note, I'm fully open for it, and I do see, I've seen with some of the ex-armed forces people with us, that NDC does serve as a connect which you form for a long term. So it does has a lot of value, and obviously the events we go abroad, the presentations we make, it's all about making that right connect, and then getting to a point where you're able to discuss your product and make a sale through.
Yeah, in addition, when we were talking outside, you were talking of a level playing field. So what exactly do you mean by level playing field for the public and private sector?
So it's a mindset which needs to change. With all due respect to ma'am, with the procedures and everything, for anybody who's at the procurement seat, for him it's a safer bet to take a decision when it comes to a public sector undertaking, and it becomes a more I wouldn't say it's more critical, or it's more subject to more criticality when it is going to a private sector. Now here we talk about private sector putting money in R&D. In the first session we were talking about private sector putting money in R&D. All right, what happens when a private sector puts money into R&D? We generate IP. We make a product. We make a product which is better than whatever exists today. Then what? The procurement doesn't happen because now you're a single vendor. Now there's nobody around you who can do a product like that. Like Ankit from Idea Forge mentioned, that the specs are being diluted so that now you have more vendors there. When will we come out of this? We want the best product. We are okay to buy that best product from a company outside of India. But when we have that same best product coming from a company in India, we are more than happy to dilute specs so that it's not a single vendor situation. It's a competitive bid. So then you would not get the best product. So we will have to decide which way we want to go. If you are looking at private sector, putting in money, doing R&D, bringing out a best product, at least give some regard. If somebody has got a patent on the product, then he does have a product which doesn't exist. Then that single vendor situation should not be questioned.
Yeah, okay. General Reen, you did a lot of things, and one of the initiative I remember setting up testing centers, which obviously geographical proximity has to be there. So can you just explain that for the benefit of the people?
Okay, I'll just cover this point first about the testing centers. Gentlemen, all labs today, which DGQ is holding or DRDO is holding or public sector is holding or even the private sector is holding, has all been digitally connected. This facilitates the industry that if he has a product and it needs testing and testing at a faster pace, he need not go in search of that lab. It is digitally available to him. He can log in and find out that this test is available. If it is paid by DRDO, DGQ labs are generally free. He can log in, he can find the time frame, and he can find the procedure. But gentlemen, what happens in testing is more interesting to know. It is his product which has gone to a particular lab for testing. Whether it is DGQ lab or DRDO lab, it's immaterial. Now, there the product, either under development or a developed product, fails. The question which is given to the service headquarters is, sir, the product is under testing. Every test has got a defined duration. It can't cross that. It is only the delay which is in rectification of that product which has failed gets a cumulative total in making it a cycle, that the cycle of testing is very, very long. So this industry needs to understand very clearly that it is your product. And gentlemen, before bringing to a public sector or to a DGQL lab, today we have opened all the labs. If you have a credible lab which has got all the certifications in place, kindly do the testing. And it is just that certification which will be asked either by Army or by Navy or by Air Force, because in DGQ we handle Army and Navy both. No questions will be asked because we want to reduce that time frame in doing it. Similarly, I said monitoring of contracts which have already been placed is going on. But when we have been doing the analysis, the delays have been more on part of the industry. Now going beyond that point, we have an industrial body called as FICCI. FICCI has a subset which is called as SIDM. All are interconnected through the SMMEs, the IDEX projects, and the main companies. The business is revolving within the country, and business is with the industry. It is the industry forum which needs to integrate and sit together and find a solution who gets what piece of the business. Because end of the day, each one is competing within his opponent or his partner that I want this part of the business. So this streamlining has to be done within the industry themselves. Each one cannot make what is available. You issue an RFP today, even the vehicle manufacturer tries to get into it. The ammunition manufacturer wants to make a drone. You can't be going into each and every field. That's why the industry restructuring has to take place from within the industry. Of course, if they need the support of the institution, that will be given to them. But industry verticals or the strength of that industry has to come up that I am in this field and I am going to continue in this field. They don't have only to look what is happening in the field of RFP. Because RFPs will be issued as per the requirement of the different establishments or the services. So I will make each and I will compete into it. That is where the story of the other man stealing, even if he has got a patent, will keep happening if the industry does not come, and for that, they don't need a government support. They have their own setup. So please integrate, discuss, and decide. Whichever reforms the industry come, because last year was the year when we had a very major session on It was Chintan Shikhar. Chintan Shikhar. Each and every point which industry brought out was monitored by Raksha Mantri himself. And all of those points were taken to culmination. So that industry does not have any issue left, what they have brought and given it to the institution to deal with.
I'll just amplify one point which for the August gathering here is General Reen has mentioned about RFP. I will take a step back and talk about the problem statement. The industry was facing a continuous problem that the user was not able to put the problem statement in the language that they understand and not making it concise. These problem statements were verbose. So for your information, just about 10 days back at DSSC Wellington, there has been a one-day session by Brigadier Asit Bhattacharji, who has been with SIDM, CII, pro bono, one full day. And they have taught the people how to write a problem statement, how to frame an RFP in the language that the industry understands. Otherwise, there is always a problem of somebody writing in French, other one reading in English. So that is, and to make it concise, A4 size, and to be specific in the sense, seamless integration. What is seamless? The industry doesn't understand. So that is one point which I thought I must apprise you. Suyash, your startup issue. Now, okay, go ahead.
May I make a point? Yes. Just adding to Sir's point. So I think one thing about testing, I'll share one thing that happened with us. So we talk about IDEX 1.5 crore grant, and it takes around 8 to 10 months to finish that process, and hitting the bank may take 2 years or so. So on our own, we have put 2 crores and we built synthetic aperture radar for aircrafts. When we started, we wanted to put a satellite in space, but before going to space, we said we'll build it for aircraft and then test it out. So I think we tried getting into Semilac, we tried getting into all the aircrafts that we can. The 2 crore asset is still lying in my office till today. I have built it like 2-3 years back, but then that's where it was good and bad, honestly. Bad because I spent that money in the early stages of our company where we could not have afford much, and it is doing nothing. Good because we were denied all the aircrafts. We had to invent something for drones, and there's no SAR on drones in the world till today. And we did that, and we're pretty successful, and we're launching very soon. But long story short, sir, maybe it's good for RFP and all of those processes when there is a defined user requirement that is articulated. But for your own R&D, the same test beds are generally not available to the private companies. And I would urge and request the panelists to kind of look at it. We have been super unsuccessful in that particular venture, where our SAR, X-band SAR, is still there on an aircraft made in India, completely there, but has not been used by anyone.
Okay, I get your point there, and just to ensure that startups, MSMEs or bigger industries to identify and align with what the user wants, I saw even in your board, you have people who've been veterans. So they are the ones, and the same is the case with DRDO also. The cross-pollination has to happen, and cross-pollination has to happen for mentoring, not for selling. So if you are able to get that right, get the right mentor there, I'm sure such, I would call it a tragedy, such tragedies would be averted. Dr. Das, how would you talk about cross-pollination, getting the users, getting the industry with you?
Yeah, I think that's a critical triangle we all look into. DRDO on one, industry on none, and the user on the other, and all the three. Let me tell you, if the synergy doesn't happen among the three, India as a country, we can't succeed. And it can happen provided all the three are on board in the main thinking, and it has to be a collateral thinking across. But before, I'll forget just one point. I'll react to this gentleman when he says that you have a difficulty to clear through Semilac. And the guy who makes all the payloads for all the flying objects, and one of the most connected with Semilac. So I can understand the pain what you're undergoing. But when the coaching is tough, you become successful. So that's the brand I give it to our Semilac always. And we love to face such acid test through Semilacs. My ASA radar is flying. My Shen radar in 24 months was flown in Aero India. I myself was there in the fly. But there is a catch there. you see, you have to understand the system as a country. See, Semilac ensures that the safety of the systems. So for that, a lot of designers and the Semilac shake hand has to happen right from the beginning of it. Now, if we make the products full and take it to the Semilac, obviously they'll go back and check it and open up and do that. So that could be the reason. Maybe you will learn it as you go forward more onto the systems. It will not be a tragedy. Your system is already ready for the SAR, and the LRD guys as well. We will discuss it and see how best we can take you forward.
Just one point, sir. If it was a technology problem, I am ready to fight the battle.
It will not be a technology problem.
It is just the paperwork.
That's right.
He's committed on stage, don't worry.
I'll take care. We will, after this meeting, we will discuss together forward for it. And now, of course, if we talk about how DRDO is taking forward, actually DRDO doesn't exist without user. Let me make it very frank and honest. But at the same time, the kind of the trust all the three users onto the DRDO is for which we exist today. And in fact, industries also not exist if this, between DRDO and the users, we don't have the handshake, industry has no meaning in this country. And as I said it very clear, unless our own countrymen use it, forget about exporting that systems. No country across the world is fool to buy a system if their own country doesn't use it. So the first and foremost is we must focus how to make this as a love triangle. And this is happening, off late it is happening very well. And we are seeing, but only thing is what we need to capture. Like I said, we should not chase the QR and make the systems. Actually, we should understand, and quickly between us and the user, we develop certain real formula. And we come out to the startups to come forward. See, today, the startups are coming to me, and such wonderful products they're making for us, because we just throw the problem statement. And they themselves also come back to us saying that what is the next generation system the country needs today. They are equally talented to come forward to us. And DRDO has got a very clear systems. Our friend was saying there is still discrimination between public and private, but it never happened. It cannot happen. Even if I wish to make it happen, I can't make it happen, because our purchase procedure never allows us to do that, to give any special preference to anyone. DCPP is open, TOT process is open with EOI, and TAC is there to be absolutely uniform across all the systems. But yes, DRDO having a special drive for startups now. We are making, I can't record it as a minutes, but I'm telling you, any new project which is being sanctioned today to DRDO, it is our moral responsibility that 10% of that activity must be given to the startup, so that they come forward and they survive, they grow, and they make the new India in future. So we are going forward for that, to accept all the startups in our development process.
Dr. Das, what the point he made about public and private sector was not related to DRDO, but like somebody already has a design and they want to make it so that they can export. There's a problem in that we can see in the policy that, so maybe even in the gathering, if people have suggestions for DAP, addition to be made or deletions to be made, amplification to be made, please feel free to share with the organizers, and that as a report when it comes to MOD, we will definitely look at that. Final word from everyone, about 2 minutes before we open up for question answer, because I want to give more time for question answer.
I think, sir, you should open it to question and answers. It becomes more interactive.
Yes,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
we will all just keep.
Okay, fine. Oh my God, plenty of questions. We will, yeah, okay. Please identify yourself and keep the question short, so that they are able to answer. And tell me specifically who the question is for.
So my name is Kiran Raju. I'm the co-founder and CEO for Indrajal. We are a counter UAS system focused on autonomy. The question is for the whole panel, sir, you also.
No, that broadbanding is not allowed.
No, it's
Please shoot straight.
Shoot straight. Then I would say it for ma'am, right?
Okay.
So this, if you had to procure ChatGPT today, how would our procurement process adapt to it?
What we'll do is we'll take 3 questions, so that there may be some commonality also. So in one answer it can happen. Anybody else who has a question for ma'am?
Good afternoon, I am Brigadier Bhardwaj. Question to the Additional Secretary again. It seems that we are stuck up on formats and processes, which is absolutely fine. But my understanding is processes are required when there is a problem of, let's say, corruption. And this is the word I take from you. What I find missing is the importance of the timeliness. Somebody had early in the morning mentioned about responsibility. So where is the responsibility? If the process is there, where is the necessity of putting it into the national security architecture soonest? Because we are already late for any process. And that connects to his question also.
Okay. Third question, anybody else? Yeah.
So, since you're restricting me to her, so I'll just ask her question and later second question. Ma'am, we are looking at Atmanirbharta is the session. We don't have a flight test bed for engine. We don't have a high altitude, wind tunnel. How do we expect our engine, either public or private sector, to do it if we don't have an ecosystem? Thank you.
I meant a chat GPT equivalent, Indian equivalent. I don't mean the chat GPT.
Okay.
The Indian equivalent.
So yours is the easiest question to answer. Why should we procure ChatGPT? Let us have an indigenous AI platform developed, and
Ma'am, that's what I'm saying. Assuming that I have an indigenous AI platform, which I spent $10 billion developing. Now, how will the Indian defense procure that?
Yes, it cannot swarm. Well, you do have a make-to procedure, but that will not cater for the kind of value that you have for your platform. Otherwise, suo moto proposals of the Indian industry are welcome, where such solutions are identified, which the users then see that yes, this is a solution that they require to embed in their armed forces requirement, and then the process starts. The make-to process is laid down in the DAP. But those are for little lower value items. When you're talking about something as big as having developed an AI platform, I would suggest that this is done along with the user and even maybe the DRDO. That ab initio, you work with the user and DRDO, and I'm telling you, they are all open to work. Those siloization of the past decade is no more there. So work with them ab initio so that they can identify the need and the requirement of what you have developed and kind of make it unique to the armed forces operational need, and then we move together through it. So that is answering your question.
Madam,
but
just a question.
Just a question. Have you actually developed an AI platform equivalent to ChatGPT?
I wouldn't say equivalent, ma'am, but I've been working on platforms for the last 15 years on this specific.
Right.
No,
So let us have some.
Which is the data that you used?
So the data model, feeding the data.
When you have AI, the user has a specific data to be ingested into that.
Sir, so
and that is why she's saying work with DRDO.
With the user and the DRDO.
Absolutely.
So that you can customize it for the Indian Armed Forces requirement. Otherwise, just a universal AI platform may not be conducive. Also, you have to take care of the cybersecurity needs of the armed forces, which are much higher than a common citizen.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you.
The second question was from the Brigadier about the delays and their responsibility. Yes, for delays and for indecisiveness and for just shuffling the file, people should be responsible. And each echelon and an organization who is processing the file must hold that functionary responsible. That is not something the DAP brings in. That is something which your HR practices, your approach towards the process makes it. There has to be responsibility. Nothing in the DAP says that you should take so much time and you can just take time and time and time, or just because you do not want to take a decision which kind of leads to a single vendor scenario. Nothing like that. There are well laid down procedures, and time is also so well laid down. So whenever we try to do a reform that, okay, we are going to cut down the times, I want to say that the book originally has very clean and clear laid down times. If we follow those times and hold people who are delaying, going off from that schedule responsible, I think we'll meet the requirement of timeliness. There was a third question from you, sir.
Engine.
I'm sorry, I didn't note the... Yes, that is a limitation in our country, and we are coming up with that. You've heard General Reen talk about all the endeavors that have been made in the DGQA. But yes, in the aerospace sector, we need far more work to be done. So give the government some time. Everybody in the system is very cognizant to the requirement of test beds and these facilities. I'm sure they are going to come up. And there are policies which are being carved out about right now while we are sitting here to enable public-private partnership in creation of testbed facilities and testing facilities. You had something else to ask.
Small point. This not making accountability. The French have a responsibility principle, where if somebody is holding a file and delays, they pay for the delay. So I think we need to not leave it to the good sense in the and bring in the policy provision in the DAP. Thank you.
The DAP is already running in 2 volumes, and if we are going to make responsibility and accountability also a factor in the process, I think that is not how governance goes.
Okay.
If the Frenchies do it, is it the best? The jury can be out on that. But what I'm saying is that the procedure is an enabler for the practitioners, and each respective echelon and organization then has to devise their accountability and responsibility matrix in which they will work. In fact, if I can take 2 minutes more, the then Defense Secretary Ajay Kumar Sahab had come out with a very interesting way in how to monitor the timeliness and the accountability thereof. He had designed, he had got CDAC to design a system where everybody is mapped who is handling what case, and for that particular case, timelines were laid down, the metrics was there. Anybody going a day beyond that timeline, an SMS came onto their phone calls. And I thought that was very interesting, till of course the cybersecurity kind of closed that down. But these are the things that organizations and system can think of in order to bring that accountability. Let us not embed it into the policy and the procedure. The procedure already says what are your timelines. Let's just all follow it and move along with it. Thank you.
Okay, next set of 3 questions we'll take quickly.
Sir,
Yeah, okay.
I'll just add a point to what Madam has said, because this is what I also saw in the system. If we have to move in for reforms, this is one of the suggestion is, where we have multiple layers, and how much can be combined and put together as one option. We have a line directorate. Beyond line directorate, we have WE. Beyond WE, we have DG acquisition. Then the file moves up, and we have finance in between. It's one requirement and with many solutions. So if we could integrate some of those verticals, which are absolutely independent verticals, and bring it into one synergy for at least each service, I think some amount of timeline can be reduced. The acquisition manager or the technical manager is asking a question to the WE. WE refers it back to the line directorate. Now, line directorate and WE are well within the service headquarter. He may be above the service headquarter. So this understanding is not the delay of file on paper, but it is an understanding for each individual who has to make a decision. So if we have to reduce it, the suggestion is that some of these echelons can be integrated so that the movement of that file is not in various stages, because each one of that has got his own hierarchy in dealing with the file. So that to some extent can be reduced, and it can save a time from 6 to 8 months in this procurement cycle.
General Reen, Navy has this excellent system, and when they set up TDAC right under the Vice Chief, I think they did well in compressing the timeline. So I think all of us can learn from each other. So let us have others also looking at it. It's a very valid point. Right from the user, we need to compress on the timeline.
The model is available, the others can replicate.
Yeah, okay. Next 3 questions, please. Please raise your hand so that Rajiv, no more. Yeah.
So I'll take a liberty, sir, because I am a user and in procurement cycle, and we're talking of reforms. It's very well spoken that soldier will fight with what is given to him, and whether it is given centralized, decentralized.
For whom is the question?
It is for all the three.
No. Be a marksman.
That's something in liberty. If I put it one way, then we are looking at pointing fingers as to who I'm.
No.
Let me clarify, sir. Let me because I'm saying I'm a user in procurement role, and therefore it is beyond one vertical to answer it. I'm trying to share a challenge that I'm facing today. And people have talked about the technological cycle versus procurement cycle has changed. Today, if I go to 3 core, they are making FPVs on their own. I say, why are you making on your own? He says, you will give it to me, I don't know when. I need it today. And our methods today, like ma'am elaborated, I am in procurement, so I go buy a book so that it secures me for a method. But that method leads me to L1. When it leads to me to L1, it also leads me to a QR lower the way. The industry has been claiming that a QR which is lower than the best I can get. And therefore, I am buying a technology which is maybe a shade lower because it's L1, there's no L1 T1 method. It is also inhibiting in some manner to go a single vendor. Single vendor is doable by the process, but we know by the time it reaches all the layers, I can't go single vendor. It is very rare that I will be able to go single vendor, except the way he said, unless it's at a DPSU and we know no one else can make it. And therefore, I'm looking at the panel to tell us that how can we look at breaking this technology cycle to procurement cycle to meet the requirement of the soldier also, and what the industry is seeking to make everything happen faster.
No, you have a valid point, and I think Ms. Chawla is the perfect person with her background in finance.
Also, finance, I have been away from finance for a long time, but I'm really committed to the honest taxpayers' money. So if we are all committed, we are all finance people. Okay, let me give you a different perspective. The panelists also talked about the bane of L1, lowering of QRs. Okay, can I give you a perspective that we are looking at enhancing competition? We do not want to encourage monopolistic situations in our country. So therefore, private industry is also being earmarked budget of the component. I think about 70% of our modernization budget is earmarked for the Indian industry. 25% of that has been earmarked for the private industry, with the very fact that we have to encourage capacities and capabilities within our country. The L1 system ensures that we have fair and just and a transparent competition. Are we lowering, are we reducing, lowering our QRs? I do not think so, because that is what the industry keeps saying, that your standards are so high that we do not clear the trials. So there seems to be an inherent ambiguity in this fact. Why should the QRs be lowered? The QRs should be made based on our operational needs and requirements. Do we have to micromanage the QRs? I think we can broad base it between our overall requirement. That need is there. But to eliminate competition based on IPRs, I think we have not reached that stage of a military industrial complex. Let us encourage competition. Let us have more and more people manufacture so that the defense ecosystem develops and we are able to meet our own armed forces requirement. Exports will come next, but let us be able to meet our armed forces requirement and in the time frame that they want. We are only talking about the procurement timelines being long. What about the delivery timelines of the Indian industry? I have always been dealing with cases of delivery period extension. So let us come up and meet the armed forces requirement, but let us do it in a competitive and a fair way, because competition will ensure the best coming. Monopoly has been no good, and that is why we had to introduce private industry in the defense system. Otherwise, the public sector was tending towards a complacency. Thank you.
I've just been given a hard stop signal. So thank you, audience, for being so patient and inquisitive also. And I know for sure that there are many other suggestions. I would request you to hand over those suggestions to the organizers, and maybe you can send it to us also. We have no hassle in compiling them and using them. And a very big round of applause for the panelists. They've been extremely honest, and they've laid out everything for you. Thank you so much.
Think yourself as a soldier. That was said by Dr. B.K. Das. Because when a soldier is on the battlefield, his and her life depends on the gear that they carry, be it weapon, be it armor, be it any kind of a communication system, and everything else. Any miss here means the difference between life and death. So today, as a manufacturer, engineer, or a designer, Do not think that you are just building a product. Think that you are building a lifeline. And if we proceed ahead with this intent, I am sure that we will not face any delays or any kind of hiccups or obstacles, but we will see just successes ahead. Thank you so much to our distinguished panelists for sharing such profound perspectives. May I now request Lt Gen A.K. Singh to please come and present a token of appreciation to all our panelists.
So we'll start from one end. Thank you, sir. And conviction. I know. She repeated that. Great. Sir?
Today, we all will be privy to the launch of a significant contribution to India's defense literature titled Shaping India's Arsenal, The Path to Self-Reliance in Ammunition Manufacturing. The insightful work has been authored by Brigadier Dr. Biju Jacob, Vishishta Seva Medal. It is a timely reminder that while weapon systems and platforms may take center stage, it is the ammunition that wins war, and the ability to produce it is indigenously central to India's strategic independence. May I now request Brigadier Dr. Biju Jacob, the author of the book, to kindly come on stage. We are honored to have the presence of Mrs. Mary Jacob, the wife of the author, and publisher Mr. Rajan Arya for the official release of the book, Shaping India's Arsenal.